Everybody.
Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kaviviridhitam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatatam Bhuvi Grinantiye Bhurida Janaha. So today the class is being conducted from Edinburgh. As you all know, normally we have the class at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. So since I'll be in the train, so this is being live streamed at 2, it's almost 3 now. Yeah. So the topic is also slightly different. Normally on Saturdays, we have either Bhagavad Gita or Vedanta as the science of human resources. The interpretation of Vedanta as a science which explain how our human resources or our human possibilities, we can explore our possibilities, all our possibilities, physical, mental, as well as spiritual, through Vedanta. So Vedanta as a science of exploring our human possibilities is the topic which we normally discuss on Saturdays. But today there is an entirely different topic which is normally discussed on Sundays, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So Gospel, as you all know, is a unique spiritual guidebook for people irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, nationality, or even ethnicity. Any person, as long as he is a human being, can benefit from the wonderful universal message of the gospel. You will not find the ideas that are contained in this wonderful scripture for mankind. You can say it's a universal scripture for all humankind. As I said, irrespective of their religious faith, the paths that they follow, whatever be their conception of God or the ultimate reality is concerned. So we'll try to find out how Sri Ramakrishna solves the problem of different faiths, especially the clashes between different faiths. As you all are aware, a few days ago during Diwali, I was in Rome, just outside of Vatican, where there was a appeal for peace document signed by all the major religious leaders of the world in the presence of Pope. Of course, Pope chaired the meeting, and there was a discussion how religion can help to bring peace in the world, in this strife-torn world. It is so difficult even within a family to have peace. Forget peace between nations, peace between societies, peace between different religions. That's a far cry. In the sense, when people find it so difficult to even have peace within one family. In fact, one of the delegates there, when I spoke of the Indian concept, in Sanatana Dharma, we have this unique concept of Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. The whole world is a family. The moment I said that, people who belong to the Semitic religions, the famous biblical story where one brother kills the other, betrays the other. So they say family as a unit is not a correct thing. I said, why? He said, within the family there are quarrels. And he, in fact, not only said there is a biblical story, he said, what happened in the Mahabharata? The brothers, cousins fought and killed each other. So they said family as a unit doesn't work. Then I said, tell me what works. If you have a better idea, tell me what works. It's not that the biological family that is referred to. Vasudha eva kutumbakam. Kutumbakam means that spirit which one has. Imagine there is a family where everybody is living in harmony. Maybe it is rare, but at least you can expect. Definitely you can't expect people to be kind to each other, kind to their neighbors. In fact, I said in the Bible, it is said, treat thy neighbor as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you can love thy neighbor, definitely you have to love your brother as thyself. That is much more easier because there is some blood relationship. The fact that there is quarrel and brothers quarrel, sometimes even kill each other, it's an exception. It's not a general rule. It's an exemption to the rule. So selfishness, wherever selfishness is there will be lack of peace. So the idea was that if there has to be, that is the typical Indian idea, if there has to be peace in the world, there should be peace in society, peace in the country. If there has to be peace in the country, there should be peace in the neighborhood, at least the area where you live. And if there has to be peace in the neighborhood, there has to be first some kind of semblance of peace within the family. Because the quarrels start there. It's the fights take place because there is so much of variety in this universe. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. There is diversity. God has made a wonderful creation. We all know that when we go and give our biometric data, how does biometric work? Not a single thumb impression or impressions of the fingers match with each other. So you can imagine God has created for more than so many 7-8 billion people. None of even the fingerprints match. So you can find out that the God has made such a wonderful creation that He has created everything unique. Even twins, if they give their biometric data, they will differ. The fingerprints don't match. The personality doesn't match. There may be similarity, but they don't match. So if there is so much of diversity, God has created so much of diversity, why should there be uniformity in religion? Can there not be a religion for each person? That's what Swami Vivekananda said. And when we come to the gospel, you'll find Sri Ramakrishna also saying that. He says in Bengali, he says, Anantamat Anantapad. There is another famous quotation attributed to him, Jotomat Totopad. That is there. But if you see the gospel, if you read it minutely, Jotomat Totopad is a free translation, you may say, or maybe he said it somewhere else. But in the gospel, he's telling Shashadhar Tarka Chudamani, one of the famous Pandits of that day. Because within Hinduism, there was so much of quarrel. Even within Hinduism, forget about other religions which came to India. So he's telling Shashadhar Pandit Shashadhar, who was also known as Shashadhar Tarka Chudamani, he told him that Anantamat Anantapat. What does it mean? This gospel of harmony is very difficult to understand. There will be diversity. As I just explained to you, there's so much of diversity in life. Maybe as species, there is some kind of unity. We are human beings, you may say. That is a species which is common to all of us. But if you go on generalizing, first we begin with the gender, men and women. Then we say, okay, all are human beings, all are mammals. Then we come to the next stage, mammals. Then we see the biodiversity so much that then we have to say a more general category would be living and non-living, or animate or non-animate. But Vedanta says even there you don't stop, you go further. What is the thing that unites all of us? Where are we one? It is only in the consciousness that we are one. The basic underlying consciousness, which is called by different names, that primary consciousness, which is known as the Father in heaven, by some people, they call him Allah, they call him Ishvara, they can call him by any other name. It is the one fundamental reality which is expressed in different ways. Ekam Sat Vipraha. Vipraha means intelligent people call it by different names. Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. So that is the old Rigvedic dictum. So if God has created everybody unique, why should we expect everybody's religion to be unique? Not religion, I'm talking of the path. Path is different. Sri Ramakrishna did not say as many religions, so many paths. He said as many paths, so many faiths, or as many faiths, so many paths. So faith will change from person to person. Nothing is unique. Your faith may be, you may say, I belong to the Hindu faith, or I belong to the Islamic faith, or I belong to the Christian faith. But that doesn't make you equal. There are so many sects within all these religions, but even then, everybody approaches God in his own unique way. That is why we have the wonderful concept of Ishta. Ishta means that which I like. And Vivekananda said, peace can be achieved only if each one has his own Ishta or own religion. The problem comes when you try to reduce that God to a single unity, and the path also, you say only this path leads to the goal. Goal is the same. Goal is that supreme consciousness, transcending the body, mind, and other things. All religion talk of it as a spirit. What do you mean by spirit? Spirit that is not material. So there is a beautiful definition where somebody asked Swami Vivekananda, how do you define civilization? How can you say this civilization is better? You know, when Samuel Huntington wrote his famous book, The Clash of Civilizations, if you read that book, it is very unfortunate that he has never visited India. The only civilization which was really worth studying, he has left it out, and he has compared all the different religions or civilizations like the Roman civilization, the Greek civilization, the different civilization geographically, different civilizations. He has even taken into account the Mayan civilization, the Mexico, but unfortunately, such a great civilization as the Indian civilization, he has left out. I mean, he has discussed it, but he does not have first-hand information, or it seems, never visited India, Samuel Huntington. And then he saw only clashes. So that is why he has named the book, The Clash of Civilizations. Now, a person who has such a superficial view, though it's a very book based on authentic data, I'm not saying, it's a wonderful work where he has shown that how civilizations clash with each other. That's what history tells us. We find religion has been very often been responsible for the clashes than peace, though they are supposed to bring peace into the world. So, can religions really bring peace? Yes, religions can bring peace to this world, because an improper understanding of religion will definitely not lead to peace. But a proper understanding of religion, the essence of religion as experienced or as taught by Sri Ramakrishna through his very wonderful parables in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. It's a wonderful book. So this book shows us the way. He is the prophet of not only harmony, prophet of synthesis. You know, there's a slight difference between the word harmony and synthesis. Harmony means my path is right, your path is wrong, but I tolerate you. I accept you, but you're wrong. So the Christian perhaps would say, a person who doesn't understand the spirit of Christianity or spirit of true religion, whether it's a Hindu, Muslim, or a Christian, once you don't understand the true spirit, you will say, my path is the only path to salvation, but I will live in harmony with you. I will not quarrel with you. I will allow you to live. I will not even kill you or even trouble you. You follow your path, but you are wrong. That is harmony. So when we say harmony of religions, it's not a very correct word. the correct word would be synthesis of religions. What do you mean by synthesis? Synthesis is accommodating even the opposite view and accepting it as true as part of the whole. That is a proper scientific approach to multiplicity of religion. So that's why Swamiji says diversity is the spice of life. Sri Ramakrishna also tells somebody said that God has created, so these words are so loosely used. We say God has created everybody equal. When Swamiji heard this, or Sri Ramakrishna in the gospel you will find, Sri Ramakrishna heard this, he said, don't be hypocritical. How can God has not created a single person equal? No two people are equal. Everybody is different. Variety is the spice of life. Why do you want to say that all are born, all are good, all are born? That is a utopian idea, an idea which will never be practical. Even Sri Ramakrishna says, just as the 5 fingers of the hand, each finger has a unique purpose to serve on the hand, and its size is different. The structure of the finger is different. Even 5 fingers are not equal. So creation implies diversity. Now that was the eternal problem. Diversity can lead to quarrel. Diversity can lead to quarrel if you try to force uniformity. That's why when somebody said, we should be uniform, one religion, one philosophy, one ideology, that is against, you can say, even democracy, the democratic spirit, they say, but still there somehow diversity is stifled. People are not allowed to, strictly speaking, it should allow for all diversity, and yet there should be a synthesis. So Swami Vivekananda's famous speech at the Parliament of Religions, he said, the Hindus not only tolerates others, but accepts all religions as true. That was based on his master. So, as many paths, Joto mat, toto path, that is one way of expressing it. But there's another infinite pathways to reality. The pathways can be different, but reality is the same. But then, when you theoretically try to understand this concept, the difference between other books or other approaches to this harmony or synthesis, it begins with harmony, but when you try to synthesize and say that, okay, we will accept, we'll live in peace, we'll live in harmony, then normally it is at the intellectual level. But Sri Ramakrishna gave another beautiful example in the gospel. He used a very crude example. He said, in the dark, there's no way of knowing which animal, you can't see them. But he says, all the jackals howl in the same manner. What does it mean? That the experience of the howling shows that all jackals howl in the same manner. So what exactly it means? It appears to be a very simple thing. If suppose there is total darkness and you hear different sounds, if you hear a dog bark, you'll know this is a dog, this is a jackal. So what is the purpose of Sri Ramakrishna giving this example? He said, when you discuss it from the level of the intellect, academically, you may try to convince each other that all paths are same, but when the quarrel starts, you cut each other's throat. When things are okay, you live in harmony with each other, but when it comes to... But Sri Ramakrishna said that if one has a mystical experience, according to his path, the highest mystical experience, and another person following another tradition has the highest mystical experience, they will never quarrel. That is the meaning of this. Different jackals, they howl, but they howl in the same manner. That means at that level, when you experience the truth, then you stop quarreling. There is another beautiful example Swamiji gives, but Sri Krishna has also mentioned that. Swamiji, being a very well versed in the scientific terminology, he says God is like the center of a circle. There's a huge circle. You may be on one point on the circumference, and another person may start from another point. Their paths never intersect each other. You see, when you start towards the center, you will reach the center. Another person also reach the center. Their paths will never be same in a circle. Imagine all the radii meeting at a central point. Thousands of ways to reach the center. None of them share the same path. Otherwise, you can say, okay, up to a certain stage, our paths are different. And finally, we come to the highway and then all our paths. No, that is not the case. Sri Ramakrishna was telling Shashadhar in his very, very rustic way, he says, just as the rivers come and merge into the sea. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna was quoting from the Shiva Mahimna Stotra, which Swamiji quoted at the Parliament of Religions. He said, various streams, crooked or straight, they finally merge into the sea, the ocean of Satchidananda, the ocean of consciousness. So no matter where the stream comes from, where its origin is, perhaps they will never meet each other. They may also meet, some of the rivers may combine together and then flow as a big river. But imagine different rivers coming, they start as small streams from the source, then they become bigger and bigger and bigger, and then finally merge into the sea. So Sri Ramakrishna's idea of harmony or synthesis is, no matter where you start, ultimately you reach the sea. And that experience is same. Whether it's the river Amazon or whether it is Ganga or any other river, when it reaches the ocean, it really doesn't matter. All the waters get mixed together. Just as all jackals howl, all the mystics, perhaps if you take all the different prophets and put them together in one room, do you think they will quarrel? Sri Ramakrishna, again in the gospel, you see, he gave such wonderful examples. He was referring to the quarrel that had just happened between the Brahmo Samaj and the Brahmo Samaj which separated from the original Brahmo Samaj, that is Vijay Krishna Goswami's Brahmo Samaj. And the beauty of the gospel is both of them come together. They forget all their quarrels when they come to Sri Ramakrishna. The gospel only it is, you will see this harmony taking place. In fact, Swami Vivekananda, when they praised him, said, you represented successfully Hinduism in the parliament of. He said, no, that is my parliament of religions, which I addressed, was very small compared to the parliament of religions, which was held on a daily basis in that small room in Dakshineshwar. So Sri Ramakrishna, people used to come from different faiths, following different paths within Hinduism. And when they came there, very strangely, Keshav Sen and Vijay Krishna Goswami, you will find coming, though they never spoke with each other. Sri Ramakrishna used to make fun. See, they have quarreled so much that they are not speaking to each other. But when they came to Sri Ramakrishna, they felt that we have come to a common place. So as if they have come to the ocean. So they have come to the ocean. The paths are different. The streams are different. And there is a lot of noise when the streams are small. The flow is rough. But as it comes near the sea, near the mouth of the river, you will find the water becomes very placid. And it, in the initial stages, it may fall down and pass through rough surfaces. So all that quarrel, all that clashes, everything you'll find when you are far off from the ocean. The nearer you come to the ocean. So there are hundreds and hundreds of examples Sri Ramakrishna is giving, showing that following different paths does not mean that you will not reach the same goal. If you are sincere, you will reach the same goal. Now, as far as the approach is concerned, if you ask which religion or which path is best. That which suits you suits you or you find easy. Once somebody asked Swami Vivekananda, a person who had heard him, one of the disciples had heard him many times. And every time he spoke emphasizing one particular path. So he was confused. He said he's been listening for so many talks. He said, sometimes you say bhakti is the only path, sometimes you say path of jnana is the best path. So what should I do actually? I'm confused. So the similar situation you'll find in the Bhagavad Gita when Sri Krishna tells him first in the second chapter about jnana yoga. So he says, if that is the perfect path, then why should I fight this war? Why should I do karma at all? Let me also go to the forest and meditate. If that is the best path, contemplate on Brahman and be free in this life. But Sri Krishna says, no, no, no. Even if you think that is the best path, that is not suitable for you. That's why Arjuna has to request Krishna that you have confused me already. Tell me which is the best path for me because you are my friend. In the second chapter itself, he is getting confused. In the third chapter, sorry. Then he tells him, no, this is the path for you. Because he was the guru, he could tell him what exactly is the path. So Sri Ramakrishna also says in the gospel, he gives this example. A person, suppose he has made a resolution in his mind that he will visit Puri. Puri is a place of pilgrimage. Now, in those days, there were no maps and all those things. So difficult. One had to just follow the request people to guide them or take somebody who has already traveled. Mostly they traveled by foot or maybe some vehicles were there, horse carriages and other things. But mostly they had to go by foot. So Sri Ramakrishna said, it doesn't really matter. First, get out of your house. If you spend your whole time trying to chart a map and then try to find out how should one go to Puri, and moreover you will be confused by many people. Some will say this is the shortest way. Even with all the modern gadgets now, it's so difficult. Then we have to trust Google or something. But in those days, Sri Ramakrishna said, it's the yearning that is important. If you really are determined to go to Puri, one day you will reach Puri. Puri is a place of pilgrimage. So you may lose your way for some time. But as you go, there will be people who will tell you, oh, this is the wrong route. You go this way. And then finally, you come on the main way. And then after many attempts, definitely you will reach the goal. But for that, you have to first leave the house. If you go on planning all your life, you're not going to reach Puri at all. Maybe it will take more time, but you have to start. At some point of time, you have to start and start moving. So Sri Ramakrishna says, in the beginning of spiritual life, one has to have an yearning. Then everything will fall in place. The right person will come, the right guru will come, the right guidance will come. If you, even so, Sri Ramakrishna mentions in one place, he says, if you want to learn swimming, whether you jump into the water or whether somebody pushes you, you will end up learning swimming somehow. It doesn't really matter whether you slowly try to enter the water or somebody pushes you. Anyway, you will get wet or maybe learn swimming. Somebody will guide you, but you have to jump. So it doesn't really matter how you begin your spiritual journey. If you are sincere, the right thing will happen, the right guide will tell you, and finally you will reach the destination. So that is how Sri Ramakrishna brought about a wonderful natural synthesis of spiritual paths. That is the only way one can aspire to have peace in this world. And when you converge, when all the radii from the circumference. Everybody starts from a different point along the circumference. You start from any point, go towards the radius. The nearer you come towards the radius, when you finally the center, all the radii meet there. But till then, you will find the paths are different. But as you come nearer, there are many common things which you can appreciate, which you can understand, which you can sympathize with. Because you are on the opposite side of the circumference, perhaps you don't see each other. You think they are different paths. You think they are opposite paths, and you feel your path alone is the right. But when you see, when you are coming near the center, you will find that the other person also, though he has followed an entirely different path, he is also almost about to reach the center. So that is the wonderful harmony of faiths and harmony of paths, rather. See, faith is something which is a unique quality. Everybody's faith, though they say, I belong to the same faith, the faith is not same. For example, there was a very funny person in the gospel, Hajra, who used to sit outside. Sri Ramakrishna, used to sit there and pretend that he was a great saint. And he was so proud of his knowledge that even people like Narendra, who later on became Swami Vivekananda, used to stop them. He said, where are you going? Oh, Sri Ramakrishna is not very knowledgeable. I will tell you what you need to know. Why do you go there? So, and he used to boast also. Okay, he has, maybe if he has 6 annas or 8 annas of faith, I have 100 annas or 125 annas of faith. So, some people believe that their faith is so strong that is sufficient for them to reach godhood or reach the goal of religion earlier. Whereas other people with lesser faith. So faiths also are different. So when Sri Ramakrishna says, as many faiths, so many paths. So if somebody has more faith, that is why they say, when, for example, Holy Mother used to say that if one has faith, one has everything. Maybe the same disciple takes the mantra from the same guru, exactly the same mantra. Some people reach it earlier. It's not just because of samskaras. The faith changes according to one's capacity, and the power to realize that depends to a large extent on faith. So the path to that person who has faith becomes more easy, though the method is same. One may have the same guru and the same method of sadhana. But because of this slight difference in the faith, slight difference in the intensity of the faith, the progress made by one may be faster or better than the other person. So even if one is supposedly following the same faith, the same guru, same tradition, no two people are alike. So in that sense also, the gospel tells us what is unique to you. So it becomes imperative. And that is exactly the role of the guru. To tell you, depending on the faith that you have. In fact, they also say, Sri Ramakrishna used to tell people who his or her Ishta is. For example, we all know the great biographer of Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, that is the great master which he wrote, Leela Prasanga. Swami Sarvasthananda was very much in his initial days as a student, had a great respect for the ideal of Ganesha. Because people would be exposed to all these stories. He found the devotion of Ganesha to his mother. You know that famous story, Kartik and Ganesh were asked by Shiva and Parvati, especially Parvati, to circumambulate the whole earth. And Kartik was a very strong person. He had a peacock as the Vahana, And we all know Ganesha has Vahana, mouse as a Vahana, a rat. So naturally, both are not the same. If somebody rides a peacock, he'll be much faster. So he sets out, and those are all stories, but it signifies many things. It shows us the importance of faith. So we see that Karthik just sets out because they were both of them, both the brothers were asked, let us see who wins the race, who finishes circumambulating the whole earth. So he sets out and he definitely thinks that he is going to win. But Ganesha is very wise. He has tremendous faith in his mother. And since earth is known as our mother, he uses his brains and wisdom and just circumambulates his mother and says, see, my mother is like the earth. Earth is my mother. So I'm just, I've done the pradakshina. So I have won. So that shows a person who has more faith, the path becomes much more easy. Not that the mantra is more effective or less effective. Mantra even may be the same. But for a person who does it with faith, another person may be doing for years and years, but he may not get the benefit of that. So as one's faith is, so also is his achievement. So that is another lesson we learn from Sri Ramakrishna's life. And the main lesson that we learn is that no matter what your faith is, if you are sincere, sincerity, the word which is used is vyakulata. So if one is vyakul, when Sri Ramakrishna started his sadhana, he didn't have any guru. If you see, the first realization he got in Dakshineshwar, he did not have any guru. The gurus came much later, only when he wanted to follow different paths. And he didn't want to follow all different paths as people believe to demonstrate that all paths lead to the same goal. He was just keen to see how God can be reached and the joy of traveling the path according to different traditions. Once he got the realization, the first realization was through pure yearning. He had no guru. He just used to pray to the mother that he was so restless. His yearning, Vyakulta, was so high that he used to say every evening he used to feel as if one day has gone and I have not realized God. I have not had the vision of the Divine Mother. And he says, even if you see his beautiful prayers in the gospel, in the Great Master also, he used to go and talk to the mother as if telling her that because I'm uneducated, because I'm not learned, are you cheating me? Are you real? They say the Ram Prasad and all the people say they had visions. Then why are you not giving me the vision? That was the only qualification he had. And then he goes to the extent of quarreling with mother. He says, they call you Chinmay. You are an image here and you are not even responding. He used to now and then, very interestingly, go and feel as if just to see if the mother is breathing, Ma Kali. That was the type of yearning or vyakulta he had. He said, are you breathing? He used to just go and hold a cotton thread and see if there is some breathing through her nostrils. He was so full of faith, but at the same time, he was so keen to have her vision. So when he started, practically he had no guru. I mean, there was no guru at all. All the gurus came after he had the realization. They came only to teach him different paths so that he can verify through his own life that the path which took him to the first realization of pure consciousness. You see, he didn't see the first vision he had, if you read carefully the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. That's why it's so important to read the Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master. Every line one has to understand Sri Ramakrishna is so difficult. We read the gospel, we enjoy it, but if you read the Great Master and if you read it systematically, you will find that the only sadhana he did was just cry, or that intense yearning was responsible for his first vision. And what was the first vision? Not that he saw the Divine Mother in flesh and blood. Of course, later on, that consciousness assumed the form of a real mother, not the Mridmayi, but the Chinmayi mother. But before that, the first vision, if you read carefully, he is lost, is about to cut his, that famous incident. He says, if you don't show me the vision, I'll cut my head. There was a sword there hanging. You know how much yearning he had. He was ready to kill himself. Said, I can't bear anymore. So many days have passed. Day and night I am crying. You're not giving me the vision. And what was the vision when the sword falls down? The first vision was, if you read the Great Master, a flood of light enveloped him. And he was lost in that sea of light or consciousness. That was the first vision. That is the primary vision. And then, of course, when you meditate in a particular way, you have the vision of Krishna if you want, you have the vision of Kali if you want, you have the vision of the Ishta whom you worship. So these different forms are the visions which are born out of the highest vision of pure consciousness. So that is what is meant when all the jackals howl in the same way, with the same sound. What does it mean? One may have a realization as a Christian or as a Muslim or as any other follower of any particular path. But when it comes to the ultimate vision, it is that light of pure consciousness, the oneness, which is also known as the realization of the formless God. But of course, it can assume forms depending on your path. So on the way, you encounter many things. You can start with a form, you can start without a form, you can start with any conception of God you like. When you start from the circumference, everybody starts with a different attitude, with a different math. Path changes because your math changes. You may believe in something, but what you, that is the central theme of the gospel. That is why when we worship Sri Ramakrishna, why do we say there is a instruction which is given? People ask, if I am a follower of Krishna, people don't like to worship Shakti. I said, no, my Ishta is Krishna. But in Sri Ramakrishna, because of his unique sadhana and his unique personality of practicing this synthesis of different paths and religions, we have a mantra, Sarva Deva Devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishnaya Namaha. When we do sadhana, we just don't do. That is why along with the Ramakrishna mantra, any bija works. Bija is a small sound symbol. According to the Tantra philosophy, bija is something which helps you to realize the deity on whom you are meditating quickly. It is like something like a key. You can push open the door, you can break open the door, but a proper way to open the door is to use the key. So bija is actually literally translated as the seed, which sprouts into a particular form. So these different forms, like different windows or different doors rather, you don't enter the house through a window. You can of course enter, but most of the different doors which lead to the same space inside or outside. If you want to go outside, you can use the front door, you can use the back door. In any case, you will be open, you will enter the broad open sky outside. But for each door, there is a specific key. Similarly, there is a concept known as a universal key, or all keys work. That is what Sri Ramakrishna is. Sri Ramakrishna, because of his sadhana, most of the mantras where Sri Ramakrishna is involved, you can use the bija. There are bijas for male deities, there are bija mantras for the female deities, each one is different. But for Sri Ramakrishna, you can attach any one of them. That's why you find so many mantras with Sri Ramakrishna's name added to that. That's a unique feature. That also shows the harmony. You take up any bija, you can realize Sri Ramakrishna, the form of Sri Ramakrishna, who is Sarva Deva Devi Swarupa. So that is the idea, and that is the synthesis that ultimately leads you to the supreme realization of the supreme consciousness. That is the actual meaning of synthesis or Anantamat, Anantapath. So the path differs depending on your mat. It really doesn't matter what faith you have, with what faith you begin. Sooner or later, you will reach the ocean. The paths may be various, as Shiva Mahimna, the Swami Vivekananda quoted this, crooked or straight. It may be a straight path, it may be a crooked path, but anyway, the water will ultimately reach the ocean. Until it reaches the ocean, the paths will definitely be different, but the goal is the same. So that is the idea one has to remember. So Sri Ramakrishna used to give many more examples. And the parables are so beautiful, the parables, that even a person, one that did not have to be a scholar to understand. There was no academic discussion, no philosophy. Like you have to, suppose you want to understand the philosophy of Advaita. Even a simple understanding of Advaita, you have to know, read several Prakarana Granthas, which are the basics. They teach you many things. But Sri Ramakrishna used to convince even simple, uneducated, unlettered people. A person like Latu Maharaj, he comes. Sri Ramakrishna at least could sign his own name. He could write the alphabets, though they say he was illiterate. But Latu Maharaj could not even write ka and pronounce ka, kha properly. He used to use the same pronunciation. And Sri Ramakrishna got upset. He said, I can't teach you. If you can't pronounce ka and ka, you pronounce both in the same way, then how will you pronounce the other alphabet? So he was tired of teaching. So even a person like Latu Maharaj, you'll later on find, because of the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, because of the mystical experience-based religion which Sri Ramakrishna taught him or transmitted to him, he became such a wonderful realized soul that Swami Vivekananda used to jokingly call him Plato. His name was Leto, Latu Maharaj, but they used to call him Leto. And later on, he was also referred to as Plato because of his wonderful wisdom. So, the idea, the fact that I'm coming back to again, as all jackals howl in the same way. You know of another beautiful incident in the life of Latu Maharaj, just to show that the paths may be different. Latu Maharaj did not study the Shastras, and Swamiji had made a rule, no matter how educated or uneducated one was, one had to attend all the classes. He made a rule that in Belur Math, all the sadhus, some were qualified, some were not qualified, some were Pandit. Shuddhanandji used to take classes. In Banaras also used to take classes. Wherever monks used to live in different monasteries, Swamiji made a rule that there should not be any excuse. Whether you understand or not, you should attend. Some knowledge you should have. Because as Sri Ramakrishna said, to kill yourself, a pin is enough, but to kill others, you need a sword. What he meant was to convince people of different faiths, or to convince people who are doubting everything in the name of science and other things. People who don't have faith, you have to inculcate faith. Then you need a sword to kill them. In the sense, you need a stronger weapon to conquer them. Whereas to kill yourself, even pure faith like Sri Ramakrishna had, led him to realization, even before the other gurus came. And he had that experience, and that would have been enough in the lives of most of the prophets. You'll see, it was the first and the major realization they got. Based on that, they preached an entire philosophy. But Sri Ramakrishna's case was different. If you see the gospel, he said, I have heard, many people asked him, you have not gone to school or learned this philosophy. How can you give so many examples, quoting scriptures in many places? He said, I might not have read books, but I have heard. So he had that innate capacity where whoever passed by, whoever stayed in Dakshineshwar, because Dakshineshwar was a place of confluence of many saints of different paths. You know, Rani Rasmani herself, in the same campus, there are 12 Shiva temples, each one representing a Jyotirlinga. There were Radhakanta temple for Vaishnavas. There was Ma Bhavatarini for Shakta worshippers. And there was a lot of facilities and guest house and free food for whoever stopped. So a lot of pilgrims used to come, or a lot of sadhus and great saints used to come and pass through Dakshineshwar. Even when he was a young child, Kamarpukur was a place where pilgrims who used to go to Puri had to pass through that area. So many, in every village there would be places where people could stay and get free food. So that's how pilgrims traveled. They didn't carry money. They just depended on the hospitality of the village folk. So there he used to listen to different systems of thought, different discourses given by the sadhus. In return for simple food, all these people wanted some shelter and food, and they would definitely not just take food, but give some knowledge and then go to the next village. Or maybe they will continue their travel. So Sri Ramakrishna had an opportunity, he says. I have heard so much, he said. So you don't really need to go to the university to learn all these things. The idea was that he learned from nature, he learned from everybody and anybody, and he had a keen sense of observation, keen sense of thirst for knowledge, desire to know, jigyasa they call. That is why this jigyasa or mumuksha, the keen desire to be free from all the problems. That is how the spiritual quest begins. First, you should have the desire for that spiritual quest, that you are tired of the things that you think are temporary and will not give you the ultimate fulfillment. That is how spiritual progress is made. So Sri Ramakrishna had that keen desire to have the highest vision. He said, because I am uneducated, is to pray to the mother. Are you cheating me? You're not giving me the vision. So that deep yearning, he had his first vision. Then, of course, he wanted to see how the different paths lead to different, different paths. You get different experiences leading to the final experience or you reach the same goal. So he literally followed all these paths. And in the gospel, you will find a lot of people coming with different ideas, pursuing different paths, following different traditions. And in India, you will find there are so many sects within these sects, and also the different pathways. And you can say India doesn't, in those days, they did not have a democracy, but there was this spiritual democracy. Spiritual democracy means you were free to choose your own Ishta, free to choose your own Guru, and free to choose your own path. Even the people who were atheists, who did not believe in the spiritual reality, they were also allowed to preach and to live, the Charvakas. They said, no, we don't believe. We follow this path, that there is no life after death. We don't believe in the spirit. Whatever is matter. So matter and mind, that is the only thing that exists. We will, as long as the body lasts, we will enjoy and have fun. That is the Charvaka philosophy. And they had followers. Once upon a time, though many of them got disillusioned because that's not the right philosophy. But anyway, they were allowed to preach. They were even allowed to have debates. The Buddhists were allowed. nobody was, that atmosphere of synthesis, of living in a spirit of harmony to begin with, ending with the spirit of synthesis, was typical of Indian culture at that time. And that was the culture which Sri Ramakrishna represented. And for that, the best combination of, to understand that, the best combination is to read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, a few pages at least every day, if we want to know what religion is. That is why when Mahatma Gandhi was asked to write a foreword to the biography by Eastern and Western disciples, which was written, the first major biography in English, big biography. There were smaller biographies, but writing a foreword, somehow Gandhi had an intuitive understanding after he read whatever materials were given to him. After he read the book, obviously he had to read the book to write a foreword. So he says, Sri Ramakrishna's life is a life which enables you to see God face to face. Now, he must have felt something, otherwise he would not have written. He was a very sort of person who would not follow anything unless he knows that it is the truth. Gandhi was very particular. You could not convince or force him to write any foreword to any book, to anything that he believes is not true. He was very stubborn that way. But he agreed, and not only he wrote that beautiful short foreword to the book, where he says, this is the religion which enables you to see God face to face. So by reading, anybody will feel that if one reads the Gospel and the Great Master, irrespective of his caste, creed, religion, nationality, even. So I had a wonderful letter. I can maybe post it. It was written by Yuri Yuchuk, the Bishop of Ukraine, just before, a few months before the war. So that bishop wrote, he somehow came across the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. The exact words I'm telling you, what he writes is, I was so impressed by the unique philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna. Perhaps he was feeling the heat of the war, though the war had not begun, but he belonged to Donetsk, the place where the Russians had occupied much earlier. There was a lot of talk going on that there would be a war. Before that, he writes, he said, after reading the Gospel, I found, and the biography of Sri Ramakrishna, so he says, I found that here is a philosophy that can put an end to all wars. This is the path of peace, if at all there is to be a path. I found that his spirit of synthesis, the spirit of coexistence, by accepting each of the religions and each of the pathways as true, is the only hope for peace in this world, strife-torn world. So he said, can we explore, he writes in that letter, that can we explore a possibility of where Vedic monks belonging to the Ramakrishna Vedic tradition and Christians can stay together and have some exchange. It was just a concept in his mind, whether it was practical or not. Of course, after that, I've not heard from him, because I think after the war, many places of worship would have been destroyed. But anyway, that was the message. That is the message anybody who reads, irrespective of his faith, the path that he follows, a person with genuine interest in to know the truth of life, to know the truth about God, the truth about the soul, and truth about religion. You see, the 3 points where, in fact, I spoke about this in one of the sessions of this World Peace Conference. He said, what are the 3 things in which all religions can unite? I thought a lot. Then I found that each religion, the only points where all religions, all faiths, all sects agree, you will find in the Gospel. I was surprised to find such a wonderful discussion by Sri Ramakrishna when he meets M for during his 3rd or 4th meeting, I don't know, but many places Sri Ramakrishna had this unique way of testing people, or not testing, trying to convey the basic ideas of spirituality. He says all you need, when people ask what is the path, he did not give a complicated suggestion. He just said, you have to know three things. Who are you? Who am I? I means the Ishta, or the goal that you want to attain. Who is God? And what is the relationship between you and God? So these are the three things which are common to all religion. There is a concept of God, whatever it may be any concept of God. There is a concept of what a human being is, whether he was born in the image of God, as the Christians believe, Hebrews believe, the Jews believe in something else, how the ideas of creation may change, many things may change. But three things remain the same. Religion or spirituality means you have a conception of yourself, whatever conception, you have a conception of the ultimate reality. And then you have a conception of what is the relationship with that reality, of that reality with you, and what relationship you should have. For example, the Jews believe that Moses gave them the covenant. It is a covenant or some kind of understanding. When you do business with another person, there are certain terms and conditions. So according to them, he received those commandments from the Lord himself, saying that you do this, do that. It's an understanding. And they say, if you don't follow that, you will commit sin and you will go to either heaven or hell, depending on how much you agree. If you break the rules, you will be imprisoned naturally. So also between God and the jiva, or the soul, with every soul, God has a covenant, and those are determined by the prophet who founded that religion, according to the Semitic religions. So they follow, there is in the Bible, do this, do not. So there are so many ways of expressing the connection between you and the Lord, or the ultimate, whatever conception of ultimate reality you have. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say, when people asked him what is the way for us, he said, try to find out who you are, try to understand who am I. And the third thing you have to do is try to find out what our relationship is. So that he made religion, no religious practice can be as simple as that. Of course, all religions believe in this, but they have created so many rituals, so many things, complicated theologies based on these three simple ideas. Sri Ramakrishna goes to the fundamental. And from that level, you will find there is complete harmony. Each one is worshipping God in his own way, depending on what his concept of God is, what his concept of himself is, his or her, and what is the relationship. That is all what spirituality is all about. Because because we always feel that reality is a goal to be attained, the ultimate reality, and we are not yet. We have not yet reached that level. Until we reach that level, or till that connection between us is made firm and we proceed on that path, mankind will not be satisfied. For example, even take a person who is running after wealth. Why does he run after wealth? You ask him. Take any person who wants to be his idea of wealth is, wealth gives me power, it gives me lordship, it gives me things which I can control. So that idea to control everything has come from God, because we talk of God as the all controller, the all preserver, the creator. So that in a very small way, we try to think, if we can't control the whole universe, at least let us control our empire, create more and more wealth so that I have more and more control over people. That is how even a person who is not supposed to be spiritual, but is following a purely material path, even he is unconsciously or consciously going towards the same path. He's going towards that reality. Swamiji says everybody is moving towards that. Maybe he's taking a wrong path, and after so many blows, after he finds that no matter how many billions he has, one day he has to give up the control. When he dies, he has to leave everything behind. Then he tries in this, perhaps in his next life, he tries something higher. So till he comes to the stage where he realizes that he is the king, but he is the king of the kingdom of spirit. That is the confusion when the Roman Empire ordered, because of the conspiracy of the priests to kill Jesus Christ, they asked him, "Are you the king?" He said, "Yes, because he spoke of the kingdom of the spirit, not of this worldly kingdom." But because of their ignorance, they thought he's a threat. The king also perhaps, and these priests especially, they thought that he's a threat to their hierarchy or their rule. So naturally he was crucified. But what they crucified was the idea of the material king which they cherished. But Jesus was speaking of the kingdom of the spirit, which nobody can destroy. We have that famous incident where Emperor Alexander, when he went, he saw a monk. He knew that there are wise people in India. Perhaps he met a Jain or a Buddhist monk, and somebody told him that he is one of the wisest people, and he always sits in meditation. He was charmed by his the sense of power that he felt in that person. So he said, "I want to learn from you. I will take you. Come to my kingdom." He said, "I don't care for your kingdom." This story is quoted by Swamiji himself. He said, "I don't care for your kingdom." Then he said, "Do you know who I am? I can just kill you if you disobey me." He thought by force we could do everything. And finally, you all know what happened to Alexander. He did not even reach home. He was dying, and they say, I don't know whether that story is true, he took a little soil where he fell down and was about to die. He said, "See, this is what finally I have managed to catch." He might have conquered so much of land, but ultimately what went with him, he thought, even this a little bit of soil that is in my hand, that is also is not really, will not go with me. After all, that is what he spent all his life for. Whereas this person whom he was threatening to kill, he said, "I have never heard a more foolish statement than," so boldly he was telling Alexander. He said, "What you will do, you can kill my body, but can you kill my spirit? Because I know I am the spirit. And that is something which nothing can kill. As the Bhagavad Gita said, nothing can wet it, nothing can burn it, nothing." So that idea of the ultimate reality, ultimate power, ignorantly we seek it in smaller things. Our goals may be smaller, but ultimately we will go for higher and higher goals. That is how evolution takes place. So Swamiji says, don't blame anybody. Let them run after the small toys. But ultimately, when they find that this is not the ultimate goal, they will go for higher things when they realize the uselessness of these lower things. Till then, they are traversing a particular path. That is the real meaning of Ananta Mat, Ananta Path. So even a person who is running after these things temporarily, for some time at least, he is definitely going towards the goal, but it will require a lot of disillusionments in life before he finally takes up something more stable, something more eternal, something more permanent, and then he reaches the goal. So I think we shall have to. It's 4:10, na? Yeah, we'll have to. So I'll take your leave. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.